There's nothing more important than how I feel today or on a daily basis. Like that's kind of your thought into today. Why? So let's look at it from a few different angles. The first angle is that and you've heard me say this many a times, our feelings are what do the manifesting, right? So we're feeling beings, we're energetic beings, and our feelings emit basically like a radio frequency into the universe that says I'm either dialing into despair and sadness today, or I'm dialing into the frequency of abundance, right? You're essentially think of it like a radio station. So if your general mood throughout the day is like apathetic and frustrated and annoyed and righteous and then you're dialing into that station and you're getting more of that station because it's a frequency. And this is quantum physics. This is nothing esoteric about any of this. Like if you put electrodes on your head and they measured the frequency of the emotion emitted, it would actually be a sine wave that then tethered to another frequency that was at the same sine wave. Make sense? So without getting too technical about it, that's like kind of like a 6-year-old would understand, like your emotions are a frequency and there's a frequency here. And if the same frequencies are happening, you're going to jive at the same frequency. Yes. Now, why is this important? Because I feel as though so many of us, right, were raised probably to believe that we had to shove either our feelings down, or our feelings were too big for our parents, or they made people feel uncomfortable. Or, if you come from like an Asian background, be seen, not heard. Or if you come from an Indian background, or you come from a Russian background, or you come from any kind of Eastern European background, it's kind of like, shut up and sit in a corner kind of idea. Or if you come from a Latin background, like depending on your background, right? Or if you come from a Canadian upbringing background, it's like, suppress all that stuff. Like there's so many, or you come from a background where like, maybe in the Latin background, like the emotions are really big, but those emotions also don't feel safe because they're not, there's not a responsibility around how we express our emotions. So a lot of us don't know how to fucking feel properly. We either are explosive in our feelings because we've suppressed them for so long, or when I ask you how you feel, you'll tell me what you think as opposed to how you feel. So I've done this with different people where like, how do you feel? And they'll tell me like a thought. And it's like, no, that's not a thought. That's not a feeling, that's a thought. So why is this important? When we're stressed, when we're in burnout, it's because we have not allowed a feeling to go all the way through what scientists call the stress cycle. And it's like you stop yourself shy of feeling something because then you feel shame for feeling the thing, or it's not appropriate to feel the thing. So we're constantly in a position where the natural cycle of the stress cycle, which is like the stress peaks, and then if you let yourself feel the feeling, it dissipates. Does that make sense? Ever had that feeling after a good cry, like you just felt calmer? So this is, okay, very good. So this is actually the whole sine wave of a stress cycle. When you allow yourself to feel your feelings fully, it's why we do the reparenting technique from a place of unconditional love and non-judgment, the feeling dissipates and you go all the way up to the end of the stress cycle. When you're like, I can't feel my feelings because I have a patient coming in the door. I can't feel my feelings because my husband is in the other room. Or I can't feel my feelings because my in-laws don't like feelings. Or I can't feel my feelings because society doesn't like feelings. Or I can't feel my feelings because I don't have the time to feel my feelings. We're constantly jamming. We're not allowing the stress cycle to continue, and we go into what's called burnout. Anyone here experienced burnout before? Chronic burnout. And women particularly, and men who are givers, like healthcare practitioners, nurses, they experience burnout almost 70% more because of this exact thing. So why did I choose today I focus on how I feel? Because your feelings are like a barometer for what's beneath the thing. The feelings are a barometer for what's actually, if you sit with how you feel, and we're going to take you through an exercise today, and you focus and you say, today, I want to really pay attention to how I'm feeling for a couple of reasons. One, I want to address this perpetual chronic state of burnout that we tend to live in, which is so not the natural state of how humans are meant to live, right? Second, I want to address the fact that you're never going to manifest abundance from that place. Absolutely not, ever. In no uncertain terms, are you ever going to manifest abundance if you're feeling shitty all day long? If you're feeling resigned, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling, guilt and shame, blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense? Yet we sit in those feelings all day long. And then we're like, Adele, you say it's already here, but it's not here. Well, it's not here at that frequency. That's true. Does that make sense? So here's what I want you to do today. Hold on. What did Fiona write? Martha Stewart saying there is no crying in business. I'll leave my take on that out for a moment. So I don't want to get too sidetracked. So this idea of nothing is more important than how I feel. So this idea of like my feelings are telling me, giving me a feedback of what is actually happening inside of myself. Okay. Now, feelings aren't facts. We talked about that. They're not. They're triggering something that's happening inside of you from the past. They're triggering some kind of need that's not being met. There's all these things it's telling you, but it's still giving you like a biofeedback of what's happening so that you could dig a little bit deeper. Because if you just take action, right? If you're always taking action, but the feeling behind the action is not aligned, what happens? We manifest more of the feeling. Okay? Write that down. If I take action from a feeling that's not aligned, I manifest more of the feeling, not the aligned action. Yes? So that's why I say to people, like we talked about being calm and being serene. And it was really cool. Yeah, right. If I look at you during the day, you look like a hamster on a wheel, but it's like your head's spinning off and you're like, why am I so tired and burnt out? Well, gosh, there's so many reasons, but one of them is you're trying to supersede the. So here's what I want you to do today. And I want every single one of you to do this. This is not optional. This is like, if you're going to do homework, like this is really important because I think it's going to give you such a great understanding of why you are where you are with certain things. Okay. So what you're going to do is this. You're going to put a little reminder on your phone, like a little alarm or something. And you're just doing it for one day, just for one day. Okay. You're going to put an alarm every hour today until you go to bed or just before you go to bed. Okay. So from after we finish this call to whatever time you go to bed, just before. And every time the alarm goes off, you're going to ask yourself, notice, how do I feel right now? Don't try to therapize yourself and just do a self-assessment or do some weird shit. Just how do I feel in this moment? And be honest, the first thing that comes up, don't tell me, oh, how I think I should feel, or, oh, I'm feeling super inspired when you're not. Don't pretend in this exercise. It will not serve you. Just be like, feeling stressed, feeling happy, feeling overwhelmed, feeling frustrated. Like, just what do you feel? Okay. Do this every hour. Okay. And then at the end of the day, tally the amount of the group of feelings. You'll probably have, like, we're doing like this is how they do psychology experiments, by the way. You're in my experiment here. Okay. Tally and group like the common feelings. So for most of you, you already see you probably have the same 3 to 5 feelings that you feel most of the day, right? You're not like ecstatic dancing and then in despair the next moment. Like it doesn't work that way. So some of you have never ecstatic danced in your life. So the word ecstatic is never going to come out of your mouth. So you're going to group your feelings. So you might have the same 3 to 4, and then you're going to notice which ones were predominant. And that's all you're going to do with it. You don't need to self-assess. You don't need to diagnose. Just do this exercise.